Hey guys, James with Torches and Tactical, and today we're going over the Wuben H1 headlamp. Now real fast, I just want to say that Wuben has been making their own flashlight since 2016, and in that time I've owned several Wuben options, including a Wuben G2 that we are giving away today. So all I need you guys to do is pay attention to the entire video. I'm going to splice in a random clip after I get done recording all this, and it's going to ask you guys a specific question about this H1 headlamp. All you need to do is get that answer, send it to us at youtube@torchesandtactical.com, and we'll save those entries for 1 week. In that time, we'll go ahead and select a winner, and whoever gets selected is going to win a Wuben G2 keychain flashlight. Now, this is pretty spectacular. It does offer 500 lumens with a built-in battery and an electroplated TIR optic. That being said, let's get back to the H1. Now, I said I've owned several Wuben flashlights, and that is 100% accurate. And another thing that's accurate is I have always been impressed with their overall quality. What I've come to expect with Wuben flashlights is a wonderful presentation, an amazing build quality, a great regulated buck or boost driver depending, and lumens that actually meet or exceed their stock specifications. Now to this point, I've been happy with every flashlight I've owned, including those two XOs up top. So when I heard that they released a headlamp, Wuben had my attention. Now the promotional listing information did look quite amazing. Was it a bright headlamp? Check. Was it high CRI? Check. Did it have auxiliary red LEDs? Check. Built-in charging? Also check. I mean, this thing seems to check all of the boxes. Now let's see if it shines in real life, shall we? Now as far as the specifications go, this is the Wuben H1. It does have an Osram P9 emitter plus auxiliary LEDs in this diffused lens. It does offer up to 1200 lumens shining out at 3900 candela. This is all powered by an 18650 cell in the housing. It is made of aluminum and offers 4 modes plus 2 in the auxiliary settings. And all that shines out with the smooth and diffuse reflectors. This whole thing is sealed to give you IP66 waterproof resistance. So now that we got those specs out of the way, let's see everything that comes in the package. Now Wuben definitely does an excellent job with their packaging, even if some of the cues don't really meet my style, so to speak. Now of all the lights that I've handled recently, Wuben has set the bar as far as their packaging. The clear plastic enclosure is very sturdy and does a great job showing off all of its contents. And many manufacturers' packaging materials just wouldn't cut it in a brick and mortar store. However, this looks like it would fit in just great. But it's not all just about the packaging. Let's see what else is included with it. So you do get that Wuben H1 headlamp with the strap supplied. In addition to that, in the plastic packaging, you receive a couple hard hat clips, so this does attach to your hard hat just fine. You also receive your USB charging cable. Now unfortunately this is micro USB. In 2023 that doesn't really make that much sense, but when the headlamp was released, this was all the rage. You also get a pair of spare O-rings. And this is the battery isolator that kept it from depleting while it was on its way to you. And then behind all that, you do get your user manual. This is going to walk through how to use each of the modes, how to get the most out of the light, and more importantly, if you have any issues with it, how to contact them for warranty concerns. Now, if you were to handle the Wuben H1 outside of the actual headband, you might find that it is a little bit slippery as the body is pretty smooth. The caps on each end, however, exhibit lightly grippy knurling, and frankly, I think they look kind of cool. It's stacked triangles with a diamond knurling on it, and I think it looks fantastic. Now, should you desire to do so, if you take it out, you can easily tail stand the H1. And all of that said, the H1 is made to be in its headband strap. The headband does have a lot going for it. It includes this top strap, it is reflective, and it does feature highly adjustable straps. And on top of all of that, it does offer silicone waves that allows it to grip to your head, and or a hard hat with those included clips that I showed you earlier, and that'll help it grip and keep the straps from sliding around on your head or your hard hat. I think the only complaint that I have is that it does require a bit of adjustment to make sure that you have tension correct on the side straps, and then setting the top strap to make sure that nothing moves around. The anodizing and overall quality of the Wuben H1 is very fantastic. There's not a scratch in sight, and the finish is quite matte, but also very smooth. And if we go ahead and take off one of the caps, you will see that the threads are quite well lubricated, but I haven't made a mess of them at all, and they're pretty thick square cut, so you don't have to sit here and unscrew it for half an hour to get it tight. In terms of its waterproofing, Wuben does claim that it's IP68 waterproof to 2 meters, and you can keep it submerged for 1 hour. And I have to say, with all the O-rings on this thing, I truly do believe those specifications. Now, my initial reactions, since it does have a charging port on the outside, that there's no way it could have that IP68 water resistance rating. However, it sounds like that cover is merely for keeping out mud and sand. The USB port itself is waterproof injection molded, so it should be sealed internally. And you'll note that there are a few screws right on the face of the light, so more than likely the head of this is gasketed. But I did not do any teardown to verify this. Now, Wuben only gives you information about this primary LED, and that's that it is an Osram P9 emitter. I did find that it's a 70 CRI 3737 footprint LED, and I mean, I have to say the characteristics of it are pretty decent. After looking at the data sheets, I have to say that the lower forward voltage of this particular P9 allows it to run more efficiently than some others, similar to the XPL or so. Now, the Osram P9 is nicely centered inside that small, smooth reflector. It is electroplated just like the reflector on this Wuben G2, as well as the reflector on the Wuben XO. It is a slightly cooler temperature, and with my Oppo Lightmaster Pro, I did check it out to just under 6000 K. The auxiliary LEDs are behind this diffuser here, and that creates a very wide and even spill of light. The white auxiliary LEDs are claimed to be high CRI, and I did put that up against the Oppo Lightmaster Pro as well, and they registered over 90 CRI, so that's pretty fantastic. As far as the overall dimensions, you do have a length of 85 millimeters or 3.3 inches, with a head diameter of 26 millimeters or 1 inch, and a body diameter of 33 millimeters or 1.36 inches. And for the weight, with the light empty, I did get 59 grams or 2.1 ounces. If you add the strap onto it, it almost doubles to 108 grams or 3.8 ounces, and with the strap and the battery, you are sitting at 156 grams or 5.5 ounces. Now, to give you a comparison, I do have the ScienceSky HS6R. Now, this does have a larger auxiliary reflector, and that's going to give this a total output of 1400 lumens. So I think for the most part, this is all going to come down to how the light spills out and the comfort of the headlamp. We will be taking these out later tonight though, so you can see those beams. So for the user interface, I'm happy to say that even though there is only one switch and you're operating between a main emitter as well as auxiliary, it is quite easily understood. So from off, you can press and hold to turn on your last used auxiliary mode. And here it happens to be the red strobe. You can do a single click to turn on your last used primary mode. Also from off, you can double click to go into strobe. And a triple click will enable or disable a blue breathing LED from the auxiliary diffuse panel. And finally from off, 4 clicks will activate a lockout mode. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so now, regardless of what I do, we're only going to get indicators from that blue LED, and it's not going to engage anything else. If we do 4 more clicks, it will shut off that lockout mode. And while it's on, you can press and hold to rotate through the current modes. we can do a single click to turn it off. And while it's on, we can do a double click to activate high or turbo mode. And if you're already in high, it will activate your strobe. And finally, the auxiliary panel here will function as a battery indicator when you first turn on your light. For 5 seconds it will light up to let you know exactly where your battery sits. So right now we are at red, and that's because I've been putting this through its paces today. So if you turn it on and that light turns blue, that means you're above 90%. If it flashes blue, that means you're between 41 and 90%. If it's red, that means you're between 16 and 40%. And if it flashes red, that means you're sitting between 15 and 0% on that battery. Now to get into some of those auxiliary modes, you can do a double tap to activate your strobe. And then another double tap will cycle from the strobe to SOS. And then another double tap from there will activate your beacon. Again, you can do a single click to exit, and there is also the flashing red that you can get to by pressing and holding the switch. And just to touch base on that breathing lamp, again, you can shut that off with 3 clicks. 1, 2, 3. There. And now Wuben says that from just that breathing indicator, you can get 100 days of use with that breathing indicator enabled on a full battery. And that is set to act as a here I am indicator if you happen to be in a dark cave, so others know your location. Now, pulse width modulation was not visible by the human eye or using the old camera trick. And if we get into the battery, you will see that it is a Wuben branded 2600 milliamp hour protected cell. And it fits very nicely inside. If I can get it to focus, you will see that there is just a post in there, so no spring. But the spring on the actual tail cap is pretty beefy for the amount of light that this puts out. And I did use a USB meter during my charging tests and found out that this would charge at just over 0.9 amps. And Wuben says we should expect up to 1 amp tops. Using that same USB meter, I did run a charge test on it, and it topped this battery out at 4.19 volts, just under the 4.2, which is perfect. And when charging, this auxiliary panel did light up red. Upon completion, it did switch over to blue to let you know that everything was A-OK on it. Now for those performance numbers, I know that's what everyone comes here for, making sure that something you might be buying is actually going to do what it's advertised. And I'm happy to say that this is rated at 1200 lumens, and with both of these emitters on, I did end up pulling an average of 1170 lumens, and that ran for 2.5 hours. As far as throw numbers, I did end up pulling 129 meters, even though after extrapolating the information from candelas, it does show that it should run for 125 meters. So the throw number was up, but the lumen output was down just a little bit, but only by 30 lumens, so hardly noticeable. Now let's get outside so we can compare the Wuben H1 versus that Sky HS6R. You can see what the difference of 200 lumens makes versus the beam profiles and everything. And then we'll come back in. I'll give you a couple of my final thoughts on the H1, and we'll get you guys out of here. All right, guys, I'm outside with the Wuben H1 as well as its rival today, the Sky HS6R. Now I'm going to go ahead and run through the main emitter settings on the H1. So we have low, but you can't really see too much. Here's medium. Here's high. And here's turbo on the H1. And as far as the Sky HS6R, we do have low, medium, high, and turbo. Now to go side by side, we have turbo on the H1 and turbo on the HS6R. Okay guys, I just wanted to come in real quick and tell you that the question for the Wuben G2 giveaway is going to be, how many modes does the Wuben H1 have for the main emitter as well as the auxiliary emitter? So we'll go ahead and touch back with you at the end of this video and get you the email address to send it to. All right, good luck. Now let's go ahead and get back inside so we can run through a couple more notes, and we'll let you guys be on your way. Alright guys, we went outside and saw the Wuben H1. We also saw the Science Guy HS6R. So now in the comments below, I want you guys to tell me what you think about the light output, about the beam pattern. I want you to tell me which one you think looks cooler, everything like that. Also, in addition, my final notes on the Wuben H1. This is an extremely versatile headlamp that gives you a very bright main LED as well as a high CRI auxiliary LED. I love the fact that it does have those red auxiliaries and that blue breathing I'm here indicator. Finally, it does have built-in charging, great regulation, and I do like the strap on this. I didn't have any issues while wearing this, although it does require just a little bit of adjustment to make sure that it fits properly. And ultimately, I think this is a full kit for a fair price. I definitely recommend going and checking out the Wuben H1 online. If I did have to complain about this a little bit, I would have to tell you that I didn't like the fact that charging is micro USB. I feel like this could require an update given that it's 2023 now. And finally, that high mode is pretty short-lived. It doesn't last forever and ever. So the Wuben H1 does embody pretty much everything I would want in a headlamp. I love the fact that it is super floody, has the built-in charging, and I wish it did have some shortcuts in the UI. But all of these are fairly minor in comparison to all the good things that the H1 does have going on, and I think I'm going to have this as my go-to headlamp for a while. So down in the comments, tell me what you guys think about the H1. Finally, if you need to, make sure you rewatch the video so you can enter to win this Wuben G2. Again, I do have a question that I'm asking about the H1. All you need to do is send that to YouTube at torchesandtactical.com and we'll gather all of those entries. That being said, thank you guys so much for being with me. I hope you stay safe and we'll see you in the next one.